In front of me, I have two of the best robot vacuums on the market, and today I have partnered with eufy to show you the eufy Omni E28 and put it up head to head with the Dreame X50 Ultra in a series of brutal real-world tests to see which one of these two vacuums is the best. Starting here with the eufy E28, when we take a look at the top, you're gonna notice that it has a built-in LiDAR sensor, which utilizes lasers for navigation and mapping of your home. Meanwhile, on the front, it actually has a built-in RGB camera, which is used for navigation and AI obstacle detection and avoidance. And then taking a look over at the Dreame X50 Ultra, it has the same LiDAR detection and AI camera technology, but this time has one special quirk, and that is that the LiDAR sensor actually goes recessed down to give you a flush surface when the LiDAR sensor is not in use. Now, when I flip over both of these robot vacuums and compare them side by side, there's actually quite a bit of differences going on. Like over here on the eufy E28, we have not only one, but two side brushes compared to the Dreame X50 Ultra, which only has the one. Now, the reason these matter is because they're responsible for edge and baseboard cleaning, and then let's say like dirt or crumbs get knocked into the corner underneath your cabinet, these side brushes can actually extend out like that, and then they rotate and they kind of kick all the dirt and crumbs directly into the vacuum. Now, looking at the midsection roller system here, they look different, but they're actually really similar technology. They both have a dual roller system, and they are both an anti-tangle design, meaning you can actually feel free to vacuum up pet and human hair without it being a tangled mess in here. Now, this one actually has two long horizontal rollers, whereas this has a middle split roller, which is why it has a much more compact size. Both of them have squeegee and brush technology in combination. Now, looking at the bottom though, this is where things get really different, and that's because on the X50 Ultra, it utilizes an older dual spinning mop technology, while the eufy E28 actually uses a brand new roller style technology. And then of course, when we compare the two base stations, just by looking at them, you can tell they are very different. Over here on my right, we have the Dreame X50 Ultra. As you can see, it has more of a traditional design. We have our vacuum dust bag here in the center, and then up top, we have our clean and dirty water tanks. On the very bottom though, it's really interesting. You can actually see those circular mop heads I showed you earlier. They can actually store, so if you send the vacuum out in vacuum only mode, these can drop and release right here into the base station. That way your vacuum can just go out, no water, no cross contamination getting on any carpet, and I think that's a pretty cool feature. And comparing it over here to the eufy E28 base station, right here located on the front, you have your clean water reservoir. On the back, you have your dirty water reservoir, and on the top is a retractable handle, and that's because the entire top section actually can lift out. This is called the portable deep cleaner. And basically the way that it works is if there's a spill or mess that's just a little bit too big for your robot vacuum, it'll send a notification within the app, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, and it'll let you know that you should take the portable deep cleaner and take it over to your bedroom or the living room or wherever that mess may be, pull out the retractable handle. This will actually pump through water and cleaning solution and suck up whatever mess is in the way of your vacuum. And while we have this out, it's actually a good time for me to show you guys where the dust bag's located, and that's because it's right here through this top latch. Now, there is nothing worse than when somebody stomps through the living room with their boots on, leaving behind a bunch of muddy footprints. So let's go ahead and send out both vacuums and see how they handle this mess. I do think it's important to note as we get into the testing phase that the eufy E28 costs $999 compared to the Dreame X50 Ultra, which is more expensive, coming in at $1,699. I think it's interesting how both of these vacuums handle the same mess very differently. On the left, the eufy E28 is vacuuming up dirt while simultaneously mopping the dirty surface, leaving behind a completely clean floor. Meanwhile, the Dreame X50 Ultra on the right side lifts its brush and mop pads once it detects the mess and simply opts to use the vacuum only. Either way, both of these robot vacuums pass this test with ease. Let's be honest, there are rarely things in life that are more frustrating than when you accidentally spill a glass of water everywhere. I guess let's just send these vacuums out and see if they can clean this up. This test was definitely interesting because both robot vacuums' AI camera systems were able to detect the spill and identify that it was water. Knowing that, they both attempted to do their best to clean up the spill. And while they took completely different routes, they both did glide through the spilled water, but unlike the last test, the results were way different between the two vacuums this time. On the one hand, the X50 Ultra uses those dual spinning mops to swirl the water puddle around, but it never actually picks any of it up, so you're just left with a spread around puddle instead of a neatly formed one. And on the other hand, the eufy E28 was actually able to pick up and store that puddle of spilled liquid inside the dirty water reservoir, leaving behind a freshly mopped surface. So it's clear eufy easily wins this round.
You know what really grinds my gears? When I'm over here just trying to bake some cookies for the family and I accidentally spill my flour all over the kitchen floor. Well, I guess we'll just send out both vacuums again.
This test is where I think we will have the biggest difference of the day, and that's because flour is a notoriously difficult opponent for any vacuum no matter how high-end it is. And that's because it's finer than sand and almost a powder-like texture. And because of that, flour can easily clog up vacuum hoses and filters. And if you take a look at the X50 Ultra on the right, you'll notice it actually gives up halfway through and the floor is definitely not clean. Meanwhile, the eufy E28 can easily power through and get my kitchen floor spotless. All in all, this may not be the fairest fight though, because the X50 Ultra ditches the side brush and mop pads anytime the AI detects a spill. Meanwhile, the eufy E28 is able to use a combination of vacuum power as well as the roller style mop, which actually continuously self-cleans with each passing spin. So no matter how bad the mess or spill is, the E28's roller mop is just always gonna do a better job than the older style dual spinning mops that the X50 Ultra has.
So this right here is my cat, Mr. Bigglesworth, and to be honest, we have been arguing a lot recently, and that's because every time he uses the litter box here, he tends to get litter absolutely everywhere. And the problem with cat litter is when it gets into the carpet, it can go down really deep, which makes it impossible to clean up. So I'm gonna send out both robot vacuums and we'll just see which one does a better job.
Now, the tough part about this test is it's literally designed to disguise itself from the AI powered camera, which is built into the front of these vacuums. And because these vacuums most likely will not be able to detect a spill, this is the perfect time to test just how good the standard suction power is on these robot vacuums. Don't feel sorry for the vacuums though, because both of these feature 20,000 Pascal suction power, which is some of the strongest suction on any robot vacuum in the world. Again, both vacuums take very different routes, but do end up passing through all the cat litter. So now let's inspect their work. The Dreame X50 Ultra picked up probably 95% of the litter with just one pass, compared to the eufy E28, which had a very similar result. And I think both of these performed extremely well.
So I wanted to show you guys the anti-tangle design on the bottom of the roller. I'm gonna put this pink wig hair right down in front of the vacuum. I'm gonna let it vacuum it up, and then we'll pick it up and see if it gets tangled or not.
Now, remember when we flipped the vacuums over earlier and I showed you how this roller was split down the middle? Well, that's where this comes into play, because when it suctions up any long hair like this one, a traditional roller will actually bring all of the hair right to the center of the roller, and that's why it gets stuck, because it has nowhere to go. Meanwhile, this one is split down the middle, so as I lift it, you can see the hair clearly gets sucked right through the center, and
just like that, it takes care of it. Honestly, I think both of these flagship vacuums actually exceeded my expectations in all of the really difficult tests that I threw at them today. But if I could only choose one to own forever, I would definitely buy the eufy E28, and that's because it has the removable deep cleaner, which I can clean carpets, furniture, or fabrics with, and I think that's a really awesome standout feature that I've never seen any other vacuum do. On top of that, the Dreame X50 Ultra is $1,700 compared to the eufy E28 at $1,000, so I just think you get so much more value for it. Either way, I'm gonna leave the links down for both of these vacuums in the description below if you guys wanna check them out. And until I see you on next week's video, go check out one of these, because for some reason, YouTube thinks you're gonna like them.